I'm Chad Large with Crosspoint Church.
Amy Kaiser, Ada Main Street.
I'm Andrea Anderson with the Ardmore Development Authority.
Hey, Andrea.
Hi. Hi, Amy.
Hi, Andrea. Tell Megan, well, you won't see Megan either. Never mind.
I might. We take walks 10 feet apart.
This is Justin Burst with the Chickasaw Nation, Chickasaw Business Network.
Awesome. So again, I think we're a pretty diverse group here and good mix of business owners and business service providers and supporters. So much delay. I'd like to go ahead and start with our first speaker of the day. We are very excited to have Kendall Carter, the owner and founder of Arbuckle Craft Coffee here in Ada, Oklahoma. And Kendall's just been doing an amazing job, not just since he started his shop, but to adapt and use innovative ways to adapt to this crisis situation. So Kendall, if you would please share with us a little bit, and thank you again for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. I don't usually speak just because I'm so new to this business world, but I am really excited to share today. Yeah, we started Arbuckle Craft Coffee in July of 2019, so we're still kind of like a little baby as far as tenure and like getting our feet on the ground. But so I had really no background in coffee. I just did some mobile, like catered events. I set up at like, our first event was the Christmas parade in Sulphur, I think in 2017. And so just finding ways to serve coffee. I even did some delivery for a while. I would just kind of, like take orders and then deliver all in one day to Ada or Sulphur, which I'm originally from Sulphur. So we started here. This is like our shop is in the old Mojo's building, just a block from Main Street in Ada. And we did kind of a total, I guess a total renovation, more cosmetic, but that's kind of how we started. It took a couple months, but now I have 2 employees. And so we've had them for, I think, since August. And so just trying to find the balance of growing in a healthy way and not trying to overload our expenses or wages, but just trying to keep things simple without trying to go into major debt. So anyway, what we have done the past few weeks, I'm trying to be very cautious of the news, but also trying to not get consumed by the news and be negative, I guess. I'm trying to like have the balance of watching the news, reading the news, but stay distant so that I stay sane, because I could really get bogged down by the doubt and the fear. But trying to just stay aware so that I can keep my employees safe and keep our customers safe is probably the main concern during the pandemic. And as the COVID spreads, things change. And so I have to be willing to adapt to the change and try not to like hold on to what I want so dearly, because, like I would love for people to come inside, but that's just not possible at the moment. And we have to be okay with that. Anyway, so some changes that we made, we use Square, that's our point of sale. And we've used that from the start. It's really simple, easy to use, and then it integrates with, we use Square Payroll and Square Loyalty Program, which is a huge thing that we started to do, that we really feel like brings people back and keeps people coming. Square came out with a online store, and I guess they've always had it, but around the time of the pandemic reaching the United States, they adapted it for curbside pickup and like delivery. So we actually are using the online store, the online terminal feature of Square, and it's through a website design company called Weebly. It's kind of like a free generator, I guess you can customize it, but it integrates your menu to your website. And so everything that we have on Square that we use for point of sale just moves over to the online store. And so we didn't have to do a lot of extra work of, adding items, adding like all of our syrups and stuff like that. It was just all kind of there. We just had to organize it. And so it was a really easy thing to add. And I really think it's what has saved us during this pandemic. We use DoorDash, but we don't get a ton of orders on DoorDash. I don't know if it's just not used for coffee. I don't know. I haven't really figured that one out, but we still, like, our customers are really helping us out, and it's a great thing to see people come together and not just support our business, but support other businesses in Ada. And I feel like people realize now how important small businesses are, because on the flip side of this pandemic, some businesses might not be here, or might have really, suffered from the loss of business. Another thing that I'm big on is social media, and I mean you have to have that as a priority nowadays. But we try to be as interactive as we can, and we try to just give people updates, continue to thank people for their support. And we are trying to offer new things or different things that maybe we've never offered before, but now that people are staying at home for weeks on end, we can offer some different things that they wouldn't normally get in a coffee shop. So I've started to sell gallons of cold brew, which is crazy that you would go to a coffee shop and buy a gallon of cold brew, which would last you probably weeks. But it's something that you can just come into town one time, pick up your gallon, and you don't have to go back into town for coffee. You don't have to make your coffee. Also, like, I've sold a 5-pound bag of coffee. I've sold, our retail bags have sold out a couple times. But the way that I stay inspired, or just stay, I guess, hungry to grow in this time, is I just watch what other coffee shops are doing. Lots of shops in Tulsa, which Tulsa is in a more serious state than Ada is, but they're adapting. Mainly, there's one that I follow a lot. They have totally switched their business model to like curbside, 3 hours like twice a week. And so it's kind of different for us because they roast and we don't, but they're still finding ways to succeed while not having to close the doors. And so it's all just really, I can't say that I know 100% what I'm doing. I'm just kind of adapting with what's going on in the world and what's going on with our business. Yes. I don't know if that answers anything or.
I think that's really helpful, and I see some questions on the chat already. First one was, is the Square loyalty program included, or is that an add-on?
That is an add-on, but it's based on like how many customers you have. It's kind of like a tiered payment plan. So the more people you sign up, actually, the more you pay up to a certain level. But we found that it really like helps people come back, and it's an incentive for our regulars to enjoy the shop more. Which I have people that would be here regardless of if we had a loyalty program or not. But it kind of just is a little added sprinkle on top for them as well.
Cool. I think that's a very useful tool. Is your staff still working, or is it just you right now?
Yes. So my 2 employees, they're working. We did shorten our hours just a little bit. We went from 7 to 3 to 8 to 2, but they're still working around the same amount of hours. And we're still trying. I don't want to really cut anybody's hours just because we're not functioning like as we were before the pandemic, but we are still able to provide hours, and it's kind of changed now that our like workflow has changed. Whereas I'm running things out to people, and I'm kind of facilitating the orders while the other employee is making drinks. And so, whereas like if we were not doing curbside and we just were open to the public, one person could be here at a time and they could handle it. But it's a lot easier for 2 people to be here just to help people get in and get out.
Cool. Quick thing for those who just joined in. We are here doing some Q&A with Kendall Carter with Arbuckle Coffee. And everyone, there's a chat feature, which is really great for questions and sharing resources. If you want to shout out a question, that's fine too. But Kendall, we have a few more questions. One is, have you seen more social media engagement recently? Do the Q&A keep going on?
I think so. I haven't really looked much like at our stats or anything, but I feel like yes, I feel like more people are on social media right now than they have been, just because
They're home.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm trying to take advantage of that, but also I don't know. There's periods of like I want to engage people, but there's also periods of like I don't want to muddy up someone's social media feed because like I need a break as well. Like I want to break from social media sometimes, so I try to find that balance.
Yes, absolutely feel you on that. But it seems like some of the Q&A and live feeds that you do are very informal and very community engaging. And that's kind of one of the questions I had. I feel like Arbuckle has been more than a coffee shop for Ada. And so what's your advice, or what is that you aim for in that area?
It's all about, for me, it's all about connection. The advice that I got before I started doing coffee was you think it's about the coffee. Like you want to make it 100% about your product, but really it's about the people. And if you connect with people and have relationships with people, along with a great product, you will succeed. But it's more so about the people that you're with. And yeah, I don't know if the Q&A will keep going. I kind of did a round of, I finished mine up last night. I don't know, maybe. We had.
Yeah, I was watching it during my walk in the park. So I think keep going on with that. Okay, so last couple questions before we move on to our next speaker. Are you taking advantage of any of the SBA programs or the financial options that are going on right now?
I plan on it. I just haven't filled out my stuff yet. But yes, my dad is an advisor for the SBDC down in Sulphur, and so I will get his help.
So that's awesome. That's a great resource to have in the family. And I think that's a perfect segue for our next speaker. And Kendall, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate our time amongst this busy period. So, thumbs up. Our next speaker joining us today is Morgan Edwards. She's a marketing officer at the Citizens Bank of Ada. And I know we heard a little bit about the SBA programs last week, but things have really changed even within the last few days. So Morgan, thank you for being here. And if you could share a little bit of information about that.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for having me. I'm going to first say I'm not a lender at Citizens Bank of Ada, but I do the marketing here, and I work closely with our lenders. And so any specific questions I might not be able to answer, but I can absolutely pass those along. Holly was going to jump on here, but we currently have 2 lenders that are submitting the PPP program. And so they are tied up. They have been working nonstop since Friday, and since it opened, they worked over the weekend, putting in the long hours. And so kind of some differences between the EIDL and the PPP, which are programs from SBA. Lots of acronyms. So the SBA posted the EIDL first, and that is not through financial institutions, so it's not through the banks. You apply directly on the SBA website. And that is a 30-year loan at 3.75%. And the payments are deferred for the first 12 months. And that is used for working capital. And so that opened up, I believe, maybe sometime last week before. And that's still open. That's directly on the website. On our Citizens Bank of Ada website, we do have a link to that information. They sent out helpful tips. I think it's working more smoothly now. I know in the first few days, the website continued to crash. And so they were encouraging applying during off-peak hours. They were encouraging using Microsoft Edge as the browser to apply. I think they've mostly figured out those issues. I haven't heard of it crashing again since then. But some things to just keep in mind is to fill it out completely. Don't leave any blanks. Don't use any abbreviations. If Boulevard is in your address, then spell it out completely. Different things like that. They just said, make sure that all of the information that you could provide is provided, and don't leave anything blank. If it's not applicable, just put NA. And so don't just leave it blank. And that's for the EIDL. So we don't, as a financial institution, we don't help you fill that out. But if you have any questions, we can help you out to the best of our knowledge. We've done multiple webinars from the American Bankers Association and different associations that we're participants in as the SBA. And so we do have some knowledge of that program. But then there's the PPP, which is the Payroll Protection Program that rolled out on Friday. Friday was an insane day for all bankers because this is through financial institutions. And so what it is a forgivable loan to small businesses to keep their employees on payroll. And so during this crisis time. And so I've got my notes here, that's why I keep looking down. So the application is what you figure out your average monthly payroll, and then you times it by 2.5, and that's the amount that you're awarded. It's on the application. The application is on our website as well as the Treasury website. I have that link. I will try and put in the comments. Yes, that should be the Treasury. Okay, so that's the Treasury website, and this is for the PPP, which rolled out on Friday. So it is, so for the first 8 weeks, so you can use 75% of the funds for payroll, and then the other 25% can go to utilities, rent, or interest payments on a mortgage. On the application, which we have the application on our website as well as the Treasury website, there's been 2 applications. There was one that rolled out previous to Friday, and then one that rolled out Friday. You have to fill out the one that came out on Friday. There are some changes. Most of financial institutions have the current one on their websites. I know that we do. I looked at Vision Bank, they do as well. I'm sure the other lenders do. I just haven't looked at them to compare. And so the application is on our website, and it kind of shows you exactly what you can use the funds for. So after the 2 months, and after you've shown that this is what you've used the money for, whatever you can't prove that you've used for the payroll or utilities goes into a 2-year loan at 1%, which is still really, really good. Right now, where we stand, we were able to upload over the weekend. Like I said, our lenders worked till 10, 11 o'clock at night, and we have a full pipeline of funds that have been secured, but we are just waiting on official guidance on how to disperse those funds. It's kind of been this huge beast that continues to roll out all of the different procedures and guidelines. It's not been very clear, and so it just continues to figure it out. We're figuring it out along with you. We are helping out customers and non-customers, as well as I assume the other financial institutions are as well. I know specifically that First United and Vision Bank are helping. I'm not sure about their other local institutions, but I'm sure that they're probably helping out people as well. We are an approved SBA lender, and so we are able to do this program. Friday is the second wave of this program, and on Friday is the starting date for self-employed borrowers that can apply. And what that is you're going to need some different information, tax information. So you're going to need your Schedule C or 1099 to prove payroll. And so that opens up Friday, which is a whole other second wave of these applications. So like independent contractors, self-employed individuals to cover payroll and other expenses. Starts on April 10th, which is Friday. Looks like some questions, so let me pull these up.
Morgan, I can help you with that too. I know you're talking and doing several things at one time.
Yes.
So I think one of the questions was, you said the payments are deferred for 12 months, but interest accrued during that 12 months.
That I'm not 100% sure, because that is on the EIDL, which is strictly through the government. But I can look on there and see if I can find that information. I think that came from Amy. If I can't find it, I can send that to you directly.
And then I know you mentioned a little bit about self-employed. What all does that entail? You mentioned independent contractors and.
Yeah, so self-employed is going to be like realtors and hairstylists, and then just people that don't have necessarily a original means of proving payroll. And so it's going to be a little bit more difficult, but they should be able to work that out. And like I said, the guidelines are still coming through for that as well. And so hopefully we'll have more information come Friday when that opens up. Holly did want me to mention for the hairstylists and realtors, the PPP, which is going on right now, it might not be the best product for these individuals, but on the SBA site, there's a $10,000 grant which you can apply for, and that might be the best way to go for these individuals. And I can share that. That is sba.gov. And when you go to sba.gov, I wish I could figure out how to share my screen, but I cannot I apologize. When you go to sba.gov, scroll down, there's going to be different options, and that $10,000 option is going to be best for the hairstylists and realtors. That's where she's been pointing everybody. Again, that's not through the financial institutions. That's directly through SBA. You apply online, but we would be able to help you out if you had any questions as far as to our knowledge.
Jessica Beck, does that answer somewhat of your question?
Yes, sort of. If they're not like, okay, like for example, my husband's self-employed, he's 1099 from companies. So if he did get the PPP one, I mean, his paycheck just starts deposit, and that's how he pays himself. So have they said how those people will prove that they're using that, like that's paying themselves?
Right. There's not clear guidance on that. I know that there's a few different ways that we're trying to figure out how to do that, because Holly had mentioned that yesterday. And again, I'm not a lender, so I don't know completely, but she was saying that there is ways in which you can look at either bank statements, if we need to look at bank statements. It just depends on what they're going to accept, which is the hard part because they haven't come out with any clear guidance. And so it's just, but I know that she said that they're looking into that, and they have trying to figure out that part, because like you said, those are the people who are going to be hurting a lot as well. This is what, as much as these small businesses are just as important. And so, but the clear guidance just isn't there yet. So it's just a little bit difficult.
We had I've heard that additional funding may become available for PPP. What are you guys hearing?
Yes, we've heard that as well, because there's a lot of people who need support right now. We have heard rumors of that, but have not heard anything confirmed.
I think we have a time for a couple more questions if anybody wants to shout out a question for Morgan.
I have a comment. I've been speaking to a lot of other Main Street directors and other communities, obviously, but I will have to say that our local banks, State of Main Street, went through this process with Citizens last week. Our local banks are making this a lot easier for our small business owners than a lot of other communities are. And so thank you to the local banks who are answering a lot of questions and helping people get things done with the smallest amount of information that they need. I have a friend who was asked to send in 140 pages of documents in order to get her PPP application taken care of. We had 10. So good job, banks.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was one of the things we had on Friday. We didn't send out our information until late Friday afternoon, and we had some people that are a little bit antsy, and which we completely understand, because some different banks were asking them for all kinds of information. And so we chose to wait until we knew the exact information that we needed, and because just to streamline that process and be efficient as possible. And so that was one of the things that we chose to do. I think some others in our community chose to do that as well. And so it's been definitely crazy times for them. I know that they've put in lots of hours, but we also appreciate all of our customers who have had a lot of patience with us during this time as we learn right alongside you. And so that's been really good. And I wanted to thank everyone for that as well, for being understanding and knowing that we're right here beside you trying to figure out this as well.
Okay, well, if you don't have any more questions for Morgan, thank you so much for joining us and sharing this very important information. If it's okay with you, I'll share your email in the follow-up email from this call. So if anybody has additional questions.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. So we still have about 30 minutes left, and we have several people from different communities here, including Paul's Valley. And this might be a good time if you guys want to share a little bit about what you're seeing in your community any best practices or challenges that you would like to share? And I'm putting Mike and Andrea kind of on the spot, but if you guys don't mind sharing just a little bit about what you're seeing in your communities.
Okay, yeah, I'll go ahead. Ardmore, like every other community, we're doing everything that we can to help our local employers. Through the chamber, we have been doing a Shop Local, Stay Strong program, which is very similar. If you all are, and I believe Ada does one as well, like your Santa Bucks at Christmas. We've modified it to be strictly for our chamber member restaurants and retail stores. There's a drawing every Friday for $500 cash for that week, for shoppers at that week. And then when it's over, and we had originally, I believe, planned on ending it, I want to say next Friday. So anyone who has shopped during that 2-3 week window gets put into the drawing for, I believe it's, can't remember the dollar amounts off the top of my head, but I want to say it's $1,000, $1,500, and $2,000 prizes. Anyone who shopped during that time is eligible for that. I don't know if we're going to move that date out now that the stay in place order is in effect through the end of the month. I think they're having that conversation today, so I'll have that answer here in a little bit. But we've seen a lot of positive feedback from both the restaurants, the retail shops that are just shipping things out, as well as shoppers, because it gives them, it helps them know that these places are still open, but it also incentivizes them to do the curbside, to do the delivery, and whatnot. We've also been hosting some webinars. If you go to our chamber website and to the Ardmore Chamber Facebook page, we did a Zoom call last week with our local bankers. And again, a lot of the answers were, we don't know, but at the same time, the things that they do know, they were able to answer those questions as far as some of the documentation needed, some of the things like that. We are working right now with a couple of our congressional delegates to do some Zoom calls this week. And I know for one of them, the plan is to include basically all of Southern Oklahoma, to include as much of his district as possible. So we'll be sending that information to you, Dia, once we have it. But I think the thing that, we're really encouraging everyone, just still keep in mind that these businesses are still open, but, be smart about how you use them. So, pretty much like everybody, just get out there, do what you can, and, wash your hands.
That's great. Mike, would you want to share a little bit about what you're seeing in Pulse Valley and maybe some best practices or anything really?
Yeah, I would say I have anything significant to add, but I will say that I think we're all being strategic in how we shop and how we eat, supporting local small businesses and small restaurant, small business owners. I think it's important for them to stay visible, obviously, on social media as they're scrambling to change the way they do things, staying visible there so people know that they're there. And for also people to just share what they're putting out on social media to make everybody else know that they're still open and, for them to know what they're doing. So I think just in a small community, everybody really, really coming together and utilizing social media, shopping at the places that you can right now. And that's really all I have to add. I haven't stayed connected. I'm a sole proprietor myself, so I'm not staying in contact with a lot of the other small business owners with more employees, but I am getting out and eating at Norma's a lot and doing that when I can.
That's awesome. I think we all agree that we love Norma's. At this time, I'd like to, Jim with the Ada Jobs Foundation, I think had some updates. And Jim, if you want to take a few minutes to do that.
And we really appreciate everyone logging onto this and coming together on these Wednesday mornings. Just to kind of build on everything we heard this morning, I wanted to let everyone know that we've had an opportunity. The city of Ada contracts with a federal lobbyist, and we had a chance to talk to that lobbyist yesterday. And regarding the PPP, he was really concerned about money running out quickly on that. So the advice that we got essentially coming down from Washington is for as many businesses that can, they should apply for the PPP, even if they don't necessarily get through or even if the money runs out. That strong show of applications will probably really help an extension and probably help get more money back to Ada. So we're basically at this point encouraging every business, and nearly every business in Ada qualifies, I think, except for like Legal Shield and Flexingate, but almost every other business we think would qualify. And so what we're hearing is have every business go ahead and fill out an application. They don't, sorry, excuse me. They don't necessarily have to take the loan, but go ahead and get those applications in. And it's going to be really important that we show, say, from Pontotoc County or Southern Oklahoma, that there was a huge amount of demand for this. So I just want to make that note. Another thing that we've observed going through this that a lot of people don't realize is you might want to work, if you do your own bookkeeping, this is fine, but if you have an accountant, go ahead and get your tax forms for their 2019 ready. We're noticing that a lot of banks, it helps them to have those forms ready to go, and especially in a digital format. So Morgan, I hope you don't mind me, mentioning that, but that's something that the application itself takes all of 5 minutes. The SBA's PPP application is 2 pages long. Most of it's just filling out your information, your ID number for your business, anything that you should have if you have those tax forms ready. So we definitely encourage everyone you talk to, everyone you work with, go ahead and fill out that form. And we know on Friday this will open up to sole proprietors, gig workers, anyone with a 1099. So we are working in Ada, and I'm really glad that Kendall could present with Arbuckle, because we really like how they've used some digital technology to keep their business going. Based on feedback we've heard, we think that this is a great opportunity to help businesses in Ada digitize their business, move their business online. And so we're doing some research to try to assess what that is. So I'm going to put a link in the comments real quick. But we've put together a survey, and this will go out on our resource website as well. But we're trying to basically figure out what businesses in Ada, currently, what their current level of digital technology is, internet technology is, and maybe where the need is. But we're brainstorming some ideas about how to get some local funds out to do grants to businesses to help them upgrade their, website, e-commerce platforms, ways they use, internet-enabled technologies, ways to meet customers online. And hopefully this will all clear up one day and, life will go back to normal. But I think that these technologies can really help a lot of businesses come together. So if you can, please take a look at this survey. It's on our newsletter. Feel free to distribute the link. I know Amy is the first respondent, and we really appreciate Amy getting back to us. But this applies to not just Main Street retail, but any business in town. So we encourage you to get that out. Finally, and I'll move really quickly here so we can have some conversation, but I was contacted by Mark Masoner yesterday, and he was talking about a program at his church where they're going to raise some money for local businesses through t-shirts and some things like that. So we have Chad here, and I just want to give Chad 1 minute to just give a shout out about the program, and we know we're going to get some details soon. So Chad, I want to give it to you.
Okay, thanks. I appreciate you guys letting me come in here. I've enjoyed this. This has been a great benefit to us. One of the first things that we started asking when this took place is how can we help our local small businesses? What's the need? And so, for us at this point, we have the resources to and the people to hit the ground running, how we can with the restrictions that are in place. But what we're planning on doing right now is for the next 8 weeks, doing a drawing every Friday and giving away $500, $750 to a local business. So those that are especially impacted through this, you know, you guys mentioned, someone mentioned hair salons and stuff like that, but it would be the same amount of money to each, you know, each one that comes out of the drawing. And we are selling t-shirts, and the 100% of the proceeds from those t-shirts would go to this particular outreach that we're doing. And so we would select those businesses. It would just be a nomination process on Facebook, and you nominate a business and it goes into a hat, and we draw a name every Friday, and maybe we do 2 or 3 businesses a Friday. You know, $500 or $750 isn't a ton, but we're just trying to say we believe in Ada, and we want to help these small businesses however we can. Not only do we want to shop there, but we just want to say, you know, we're with you, we support you. And again, it's not a ton of money, but you know, it would at least be encouraging. I know if I'm essentially a small business owner myself, just the way pastors are. That's basically how we're classified. And so if I got $500, it would be encouraging to me. So that's what we're doing. And you know, I'm listening through this to gain some feedback about you know, what the need really is. And again, we just want to be a part of helping our community and our business owners that have been impacted by this. So I appreciate you guys letting me speak.
And Chad, if I know you guys are working on getting the details rounded up on that, we have a resource website, adabusinessresource.com. And as soon as we get the details, we will post that up. And if you guys have any other programs, ideas, things you want to share that could be a resource for a local business, let me know, and we will keep that updated. So
thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you, Chad. I really appreciate you thinking about this and also coming on the call to share it with us. With about 15 minutes remaining, I think we'll just open it up to an open floor for any questions. I know Jim and I also discussed after our last meetup that we want to help create that, the lobby chat atmosphere for anybody who wants to stay on the call afterwards, maybe get connected to a specific person. Zoom allows for a breakout session option. So if anybody wants to stay back and have some questions or wants to get connected to someone particular, just give me a shout out on the chat and we'll be able to do that. But for now, do we have any more questions, any comments, any news to share? It's an open floor.
For some reason, my question got directed just to Mike. But I was asking Chad, where will people see this Facebook? I mean, where will they see this going on your personal Facebook page or on your church's Facebook page?
Yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to try to utilize people sharing this and tagging the church in it, and to get it to go out as far as we can. But that's where it will initially be. At least that's what we're thinking about. We're thinking about posting that. And just getting people to share it as much as possible. And we're hoping that by tagging us and tagging a small business or small business owner that they are familiar with, that it will kind of spider web out for us and spread that way. We're open, obviously, to any other ways of doing it. We felt like the nomination process was the fairest thing we could do, and do a drawing, because but we're definitely open for ideas. We just want to try to get our resources into the hands of those people who need it. That's the key thing for us. I don't know if that answers your question or not, but yeah, okay.
And hey, this is Justin. I wanted to mention a couple of things for resources for anybody who's looking for information. Today at 10, the SBDC is having 10 and 11 is having a training on the applications for the PPP and the EIDL. So it's similar to some of the calls we've been on, but it gets a little bit more into the individual pages. if anybody wants to take a look at the Oklahoma SBDC and their calendar, there should be something for 10 and 11. I know 10 has a little bit open, and 11 probably does too. And then the REI group that does trainings, I got an email yesterday that they're putting on a low-cost $10 training on QuickBooks online and desktop to kind of specifically for the financial statements that are required for the PPP and the EIDL. So people who are trying to put some of that together, they're training, they're kind of doing a training for those. So if you need kind of a refresher or just want to kind of do that, it's $10. I would take a look at the REI website. I don't have that in front of me, otherwise I'd probably put it, maybe I can find it right quick in the next minute or two. But anyway, to try to give people some more resources.
I don't think Shanna's on here, but I was just going to speak for the chamber real quick. We are doing some things, trying to come up with ideas for stuff as well. We'd actually tossed around the idea of a t-shirt too. And the drawings, like they mentioned, I think in the Ardmore. So we are looking at the Shop Ada funds and how those can be used for something a little bit different to put to help out the businesses and the community. I posted a link in the chat that they are doing an egg hunt. So we're encouraging local businesses to decorate your windows. I mean, I had my workers' kids make some eggs out of construction paper and put it in my windows. So it doesn't have to be anything fancy, because obviously we can't get to the stores or shouldn't be out in the stores just strolling to decorate our businesses. So, but a lot of businesses may already be decorated for Easter too. But if you just like take a picture or tag the chamber or Shanna and just let her know that you want to participate in that, then they're adding them to the Facebook page so the community and kids can just go out, kind of like the bears in the windows that has been going around, but with the Easter eggs. And it'll also help get some visibility for the businesses, get some extra tags, social media mentions, and just kind of create some goodwill amongst the community.
From a marketing standpoint, I did want to mention one thing that might be helpful for small businesses. On Google My Business, we updated our hours on there because for us, we have one of our locations is closed right now, our location in Walmart. And then we've closed all our lobbies for the bank, which is typical for all banks. But Google My Business has been super helpful in that we made a post that said, like, these are our changes due to COVID-19. And it published almost immediately. I know that might be helpful for some small businesses to post, because we've been posting on our social channels, and I think everybody else has too. But just knowing that there are still customers who are going there for that information. I mean, we're still seeing our analytics on our Google My Business is continuing to uptick during this time. And so just having that information directly right there is really important. If you have any questions about that, I can help out anybody who might need to do that. I'm not an expert on Google My Business by any means, but I do run it for the bank, and I have some information on that. And I think that's a really helpful resource to utilize.
Thank you all for those resources. And I've been typing as we speak, so we have it kind of all on the running agenda and notes, and I will also make sure to follow up with that. I know we have a few small business owners here on the call, but is there something that you guys want to see in the next meetup that you want to see as a part of the agenda, or a specific speaker? Do we have any ideas on that?
I think it would be nice, particularly if we have more, make a call out to the small business owners to just find out what, like with Kendall, what's working in his store for him. Small businesses are getting pretty creative to gather some much needed funds, but it looks different for every type of business. So, you know, like several of the salons in town are doing beauty packages and they're selling virtual raffle tickets. And so things like that are going on all over town. We just don't necessarily know about all of it.
Right, that's a great point, and I'm looking at you guys to share this meetup so we can have more entrepreneurs and business owners on it and be able to share more resources. We are recording this call and it will be on YouTube, so anybody who missed it will be able to kind of go back and hear some of the great information we shared. With that, if we don't have any more questions, I think we can end about a little bit early, but then we will be on again next Wednesday at 9 a.m. And as I mentioned, if you get connected to a specific person or need any information, just shout out to us and we'll get you connected to that. So with that, thank you all for being here with us this morning, and I hope to see you guys and many more people next Wednesday again.
All right, thanks guys.